So the NORRA Mexican 1000, it's a 1,000-mile in-desert race. It is a 1,300-mile race between Ensenada and San Jose del Cabo.
You know, you go on lake beds, you're on mountain passes that you can hardly squeeze by. It's 5 days of roller coaster of adrenaline. My name is Chuck Sutton.
Ben Croce.
Mike Patel.
This is Team 603 out of New Hampshire.
So the NORRA Mexican 1000, you cover a lot of ground in pretty much a short amount of time. You know, you'll be traveling at 90 miles an hour 1 minute through a high-speed pass. Then all of a sudden, in 10 seconds, everything changes and you're running through shale rock and a cactus forest, and you're dodging cattle and donkeys, and there's so much terrain out there that wants to take you out, and it changes constantly.
There you go. Give it out. Give it out. Holy shit. Amazing. Drop left, drop left, drop left. Drop left. Drop left. Nice job. Nice job. Thank you.
The reason why most people don't finish the race is either due to mechanical failures, crashes. There's so much that's thrown against you to prevent you from finishing.
You know, this race starts off with so many people. Like 2024, there were almost 280 racers that started. And by the time we finished, there was somewhere around 117 to 120 that finished. So somewhere along the way, there's three elements that'll really take you out. And that's either mechanical, physical, or mental. And you really have to fight all of that along the way. And to be able to overcome those challenges and have the team come together and help and assist to get you across the finish line, and then to have your loved ones there to cheer you on, that is over the top.
Well, I've done a lot of adrenaline sports in my life, a lot of, skydiving, snowmobile hill climbs, a lot of fun things, and nothing comes close to chasing somebody down in the desert at 70, 80, 90, 100 miles an hour in the dust.
So Chuck got me involved in the off-road racing through his experience that he had as a co-driver with a different team. And this team actually we travel with currently.
Well, the first year I did it, I started thinking, I think this is something we could possibly do ourselves. And I kind of kicked the idea around with Mike. It was kind of on a whim. We weren't really sure anything was going to materialize out of it. And we made it happen.
When he had come back, he had pitched the idea of him and I both going out with our own buggy, which I thought was, like I said, a pipe dream. But a year later, here we are. We've got our own buggy and we're down in the Baja racing. So nothing's impossible.
We made it happen with a lot of stress, a lot of money, a lot of luck.
Good evening from Laredo, Mexico. Just have to give you a little insight. Today's my fourth day and first year here. Met two guys from the state of New Hampshire, Mike Patel and Chuck Sutton, and I thought all the guys on the East Coast were a bunch of pussies. But I have changed my mind on this trip. on the third or fourth day now, and these guys are stud muffins. They drove, what, 2,000 miles to get here?
I think Saturday I got in the truck with you guys and they said they were from New Hampshire and my head just spun, you know.
Well, no, they're doing good. They're actually doing really well. They really are, really. I don't think anybody's giving enough credit how good they're doing.
We go anywhere from 90 plus miles an hour, and there's some places that you can't go over 10. You know, some of these mountain passes, they kind of set you in a speed zone because there's no guardrails. There's no guardrails. So when you're going through these mountain passes, you either have a drop off, and when I say drop off, this isn't a casual hill. You have a cliff, and it's a dirt road. So sometimes those corners act like a ball bearing because of the rock. And you have to be careful going into these corners. So whether it's a right corner, left corner, you have a drop off on the left, a drop off on the right, barely wide enough if you run into local traffic coming the other way. So to put some of these mountain passes into perspective, some of our local audience will know the Mount Washington Auto Road. And when you get further up on that auto road and there's a drop off on that left side, and that goes down couple thousand feet. That's the kind of stuff we're dealing with quite regularly on these passes. So in 2023, there were roughly 260 racers that started. In our class, we ended up finishing 11th and 57th overall, I believe, in that race. In 2024, there were a lot more racers in our class, but we still managed to finish 8th. So we were in the top 10. And there were just under 280 that started the race. And we finished 45th overall for that race. We entered the race the last 2 years at a disadvantage. We were one of 2 buggies that were running at a 64-inch width.
I talked to another racer out there and I asked him, it's too bad that they don't have a 64-inch wide class for buggies because more people in the Northeast would do it, And his response was, you know why they don't? Because it's dangerous. This is the largest vehicle you can buy in the Northeast because you can only run 64-inch wide on the trails in New England. So I didn't want to buy something that I couldn't use back home. And it's really too narrow for what we're using it out west. Racing wise, you don't fit in the ruts. So you're constantly trying to find its path.
That's a severe disadvantage because most are anywhere from 72 to roughly 100 inches wide. And that's where most of the ruts are actually set in that race course. And if it's a couple mile course, that's one thing, but when you're running 1,000 miles in these trenches, the buggy is constantly fighting those trenches and trying to find out which rut it's going to run into. So it does happen to slow you down. So it started out as about a 200 horsepower stock engine. By the time we were done with it, just a little bit of intake and exhaust, still kept it in the stock class, but we were running about 235 horsepower. We had to replace the wheels and tires to be able to run in that extreme terrain that we run in the Baja. From the first year, we learned that the suspension, although it worked fairly well and it got us to the finish line, it just wasn't up to par to keep us competitive. So through talking to some other racers and through the circuit and collaborating a little bit with some other people, we decided to send the shocks out to Double E Racing. They revalved everything, rebuilt the shocks for us, which was the stock body, and got it back, and that was a world of difference from 23 to 24. It allowed us to be a little more competitive, didn't have as much shock fade, just probably one of the better upgrades that we had done to the buggy. Other stuff that we have to do, obviously for safety reasons, we have fire extinguishers through the buggy. We have navigation systems and a backup navigation system. We have communication systems between the driver and co-driver, and also that communication system allows us to communicate with the truck. We have LED lights on the top in case we get stuck in the desert after dark.
Anything you can think of was going into this rig, and the way he described it was, this needs to be able to withstand the roughest environment that it can possibly go through. Desert sand, water, mud passes, just getting thrashed around constantly, extremely high heat. And I'm like, all right, I can absolutely get this all installed. And so I took probably 3, maybe 4 months just going through and being absolutely meticulous with every single connector, every single solder connection, every single part that went into this rig. I made absolutely sure that it was going to be able to withstand every single thing that it could possibly go through.
You name it, there's a lot of extras that we need to put on this to be able to make it to the finish line. In the last 2 years, we were fortunate enough to be running faster than a lot of the people in the Pro class. So with the new buggy, which is going to be a 77-inch width, we're going to be running 2025 Can-Am Maverick R.
It's gonna be wider, it's gonna be bigger. We're gonna have to be a little more cautious as far as rocks and trees and clipping things.
That's going to be stock, about the same horsepower what we're running with a little bit of modification in the current buggy, but it's going to give us that 77-inch width. And that width is going to mean we're not going to have to fight those ruts. You know, so running in the Pro class, I think that I'm kind of excited about it because with the pace that we were running last year and now we're taking away some of the disadvantages, I think that gives us a really good shot to be in the top 10 of the Pro class. And I think going into the Pro class now, we kind of have an idea what we're going to have to do differently coming into a corner, coming out of a corner. We're going to have to take a little extra chances in some of the technical areas, but still keep it under control. I think we're going to have to take advantage of those high-speed runs a little bit more. We are going to, with our tune that we're planning on putting in from Evolution Power Sports, we should be running about 100 horsepower more than last year. We're very fortunate to have sponsors to begin with. You know, we're thankful and very grateful for the sponsors that have stepped up and realized value in us as a team. They've been very integral in our success and our growth up to this point. Anything from logistics to fuel to upgrades to research and development, a lot of this, the sponsors' support allows us to continue this journey and see how much more we have, and we have so much more to give. Granite State Cinematics has been, working with us close and making sure that we're out front, making sure that everything is seen. We have a number of followers that's growing at extremely rapid rate.
So the growth in the media presence, even at the end of the 2023 NORRA 1000, there was nothing really set in stone as far as a plan to start out on YouTube or Instagram or try and gain a media following. It wasn't until the next year, after the 2024 NORRA 1000, where I was like, you know what, why don't we go ahead and we launch an official Facebook page, we launch an Instagram page, we launch a YouTube, and we start posting all of our accomplishments. And we start posting all of the highlights that we've had from every single one of these races. And we start posting even some of the funny stuff that goes on behind the scenes of us trying to make the videos just like this one. And we wanted to be able to grow the audience. We wanted to be able to put our names out there more and get more of a following, not only from our local community of small businesses and friends and family here in town, but just within the NORRA community in and of itself.
So I'd like to give a shout out to our sponsors. Huge thank you. Platinum sponsor, Coyote Tractor. They've been awesome through this whole journey. Can-Am Off-Road. We also have Profile Power Sports out of Conway. We have Sutton Luxury Limousine out of North Conway. We have Ferber Funeral Home and Cremation Services out of North Conway. We have Granite State Cinematics out of Center Conway. A lot of our other local sponsors that mean so much to us, and they do so much to help us out. We have Lucky Gunner Garage. We have Penny's Public House. We have Napa, Mount Washington Valley, Norcross Mobile Repair. There's so many that help us out. Supplying cigars for our trip to, giving us spare parts for our trailer to, welding and fabricating pieces to make sure that we're going to be safe, in case of a rollover or an accident. That there is no sponsorship too small or too big. But these local sponsors of ours, we love them so much. We have nothing but thanks, and we're so grateful for all of our sponsors.
You have got to be kidding me.
We did it. We fucking did it.
Oh, love you, buddy.
Love you too.